of Life Committee meeting for October. I'm Lisa Dorsey, Chair, and I have with me Mr. Nick Allen and Ms. Sheila Vaccaro as members of the committee. We're going to get started with the call to order and any items for discussion that are not already on the agenda. Seeing none, we're going to move right into number 3, the monthly fire department. Chief Palma?
Good evening, Steve Pelna, Fire Chief. 117 calls for the month. We eclipsed our 1,000 mark for the year. 1116 we're at. Couple things I spoke about a few months ago. The story on the female firefighters in the department. We shot that with Deanna Durante of NBC 10 and Dave and his staff. So you should see that in the next week or so. But that's going to be on NBC 10. It's a spotlight on the female firefighters in the department, and the national average is 5%, and we're over that. We're greater than 10% of our department is female firefighters. So pretty cool thing. So I'm excited to see how we're shown on the. Hopefully everything's all good. We've been supporting the restaurant festival, chili cook-off, and the Halloween parade coming up. So we've had the opportunity to be parts of those events. We just finished up a really cool class through the MEA. It was a 2-part series on conflict resolution. So we're trying to diversify and make sure that we're doing training outside of the normal fire suppression and rescue and that sort of thing. We had a loss within the department. It was John Stout, affectionately known as Pup. He was a past president of the Fame Fire Company. Unfortunately, he passed away last month, but a lifelong public servant and member of the fire department. So we honored him a few weeks ago. And finally, it was actually October 1st, so it's not on this report, but we had this significant accident on the 800 block of Minor Street. I'm sure you saw some of the publications from the police department on that, but we had an extended extrication on the passenger of that car who ultimately deceased. Other than that, normal southeast part of town uptick, as I spoke about last month, but we're running about normal for this time of year. Any questions?
I don't have any. Ms. Vaccaro?
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Chief. Okay, moving on to 3B, Police Department. Chief Moorhead?
Good evening, Jim Moorhead, Chief of Police. And for the month of September, Police Department responded to 3,336 calls for service, of which a little over 2,500 of those were in the borough. For crime during the month, there was a spike in Part 2 crime, or our nuisance crime. But going to the next slide down, our Part 1 crime that's been on everybody's mind. If you could go down one more, Jeff, there you go. Burglaries, September, we saw another surge in that. During the entire month of September, our detectives have been hard at work trying to solve this. This is a serial burglar, single male. He's operating by himself, and he has been, I'm happy to report, he's been identified. Arrest warrants are out for his arrest. I'm sure you've seen that on social media as well. He has not struck since we posted that on social media, and our detectives are actively searching for his whereabouts so that we can bring him in on numerous warrants that are outstanding for his arrest. So that's some really good news to halt that. As far as Part 2 crime goes, we still continue to see surges that would go back towards 2019 pre-COVID. So we're starting to see that rise this year that we kind of missed out on last year and the year before. Our officers are diligently working the areas to make sure that the message is sent out regarding that. Just a brief note for homecoming this past weekend. Again, busier than last year in 2021. The police department issued 62 citations just for homecoming. They made one criminal arrest and they responded to 156 calls for service during homecoming. So it was very active. I'd like to thank all of our partners, Pennsylvania State Police, the Sheriff's Department, our neighboring agencies, for assisting us. Our communications division that sets up their emergency operations center, myself and the mayor were in, taking a look at that on Saturday, and smooth operation. Everybody performed admirably. And even though we were busy, credit again, which I gave out last year, goes to the students this year. They were very responsive when we went up to their porches and told them what's going to get you in trouble is noise and open containers outside the property. And for the most part, they adhered to that. And I'd like to, again, applaud the students for working along with us, even though we saw a spike in summary arrests. And that's all I have for the moment. I know I'm coming back up for a few items, so take any questions you have.
I don't have any.
Okay,
Thanks, Chief.
good.
Okay, and last but not least, monthly EMS report. You don't look like Chief Brogan.
Good evening, everybody. Lenny Brown, Assistant Chief from Good Fellowship Ambulance. Our other Assistant Chief Justin Robbins and Chief Chaz Brogan are both in Florida attending the EMS World Conference, so they have left me in charge for the week. So hopefully we get through unscathed. So as you guys see, our September report there, another busy month for us again across the board. Specifically in the borough, responded to 206 calls, which is about 30 or so more than we did last year. And that continues the trend that we see throughout this entire year of not only an uptick in the borough, but also all of our coverage areas that we do cover there. You can see our busiest times were on Friday and Saturday at 2 a.m. We can all put the pieces together as far as what goes on Friday and Saturday at 2 a.m. But those are the busiest times for us. And then you can see the breakdown of where all of our patients are being transported to. The majority of them obviously are going to Chester County Hospital as the local hospital, and then breaking out from there, Paoli Hospital, which is our trauma center. So those folks generally go there for trauma-based care. And then AI DuPont, Nemours AI DuPont Hospital in Delaware, and then Children's Hospital of Philadelphia down in King of Prussia. So for our pediatric patients, those are folks are getting the appropriate care for there. Like I said, there's nothing super duper crazy about our report for this month other than we're busy. I feel like we say that every month, so I don't know when busy becomes the normal again. But we are busy. In addition to just normal call volume, obviously we were taking parts in the restaurant festival. Homecoming, we upstaffed from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. And thankfully, we did not have to use all of our resources then. Our normal staffing on a Saturday night would be like 3 ambulances and our paramedic chase car. For our homecoming staffing from that 6 p.m. to 3 a.m., we staffed 5 ambulances in total that were ready to go. And at no point did we completely deplete all of our resources, so we felt like we did a good job as far as staffing for all that. And again, to echo Chief Moorhead, the students really did a phenomenal job. Generally, what we see is during the morning, they kind of go pretty hard in the morning. The game happens. They catch a nap in the mid-afternoon, and then they come out normally at night and kind of get back into some things. And that nighttime thing didn't really happen too much. But during those 9 hours, Good Fellowship responded to 13 emergencies, and only 5 of them we could directly attribute to like homecoming or typical kind of alcohol-related offenses and things like that. And then right with the next day on Sunday was a chili cook-off that we were also down for as well. So busy for the last little bit, but like I said, I think busy is our new normal. So if you have any questions about the report, I'm happy to take them.
No questions, but I would just like to thank EMS, fire, and police for you all had a very busy weekend with the gallery walk, homecoming, the chili cook-off. I'm sure there was not a dull moment, and everyone put in extra time and effort. So thank you for that.
I will certainly tip my hat to Dave March. They had the Emergency Operations Center up during homecoming with all that, and Good Fellowship, as well as the fire department and the police department, all had representation in there. So as things were progressing, everybody had a good pulse of did we need more resources? How are we going to handle this? We tried to, from an EMS standpoint, we actually tried to disperse more of our patients earlier in the night to Paoli Hospital or faraway hospitals, so that in the anticipation that that nighttime surge came, we could get them to Chester County and not load them up in the front side of the evening. And thankfully that didn't come. So thankfully we spread our patients out, and that hopefully worked out for everybody. But tip of the hat to Dave March and the EOC staff and everybody that was in there. It was certainly it was an enjoyable evening. Thankfully nothing too crazy happened. So
Well, thank you all. Thank you, Dave. Okay. Moving on to 3D, discuss safety issues on South Wayne Street. I think, is this Chief Moorhead? Do D and E at the same time.
Okay. Got it. Okay. As far as D goes, I was very surprised when this item came up last month. There are no issues on Wayne Street in the area of Planned Parenthood. The police department responds to less than headline, Daily Local disrupts public meeting. We respond to approximately or less than 6 calls a year down there. They're all for protesters that kind of get on that line, float that area. Our officers respond. They point it out. They always comply, move to the other side. They don't argue. They've never been disruptive to the point where we've had to do anything more than tell them to move or quiet down. And again, less than 6 calls a year. There's really no issue. I know there was talk about maybe moving that pedestrian traffic to the east side of Wayne Street. There is no space there to create a sidewalk or to create a right-of-way. There's a mechanics shop across the street. The pad with all the cars moving in and out of the garages would be more dangerous than where they're at right now. So, my professional opinion is there is no problem right now. If you have something more direct to that point, we can talk about it.
So I think that the discussion, and maybe Sheila and Nick can chime in here, is, there's that line. It's one big driveway, right?
Yes.
And the protesters, there's a line, they're supposed to stay on the other side of the line. But is there a safety concern with cars coming in and out? And can the protesters be relegated to the ends of the driveway where there's actually sidewalk?
They can't, because that is a pedestrian moving area. It's a right of way for pedestrians to move off of the roadway. And we don't have any safety concerns. We have no pedestrians struck in that block. We've had 0 issues regarding pedestrian safety.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Carl?
I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Mr. Allen?
I guess my only question is, would it be safer if they were at the Justice Center, like around the corner?
Would it be safer? That's not where they want to put their messaging. And they have the freedom of movement in the area that they're conducting themselves right now. So we'd have to check into that one. But it is a free area for people to move about. Justice Center area, of course, elevated sidewalks, off of the main thoroughfare. I suppose we could call that safer, but we don't have safety issues on the Wayne Street block that we're talking about right now. And anything's a potential. So
I just think we'll continue to monitor it. We'll continue to monitor it should
Yes.
there be any changes, and we'll have
Certainly.
the discussion again.
yeah.
Okay, thanks, Chief.
Yep.
All right, we're going to move right on to student behavior and housing on the southeast quadrant of the borough. I think there was an email exchange on this item.
Yeah, there was. We take our community resource squad members that are working those late hours and had them focus at the beginning of that email string that we talked about. There has not been a whole lot of enforcement, meaning the officers haven't been finding high levels of noise. They've been giving warnings. They've They haven't seen a lot of open alcohol or urination in public type activity in that specific area. We know they're doing it. The problem seems to be more concentrated with yard trash and the morning after image. And that's something that housing is going to have to make some adjustments to as far as citing for the violations that would fall into their department. If we see littering in action off of the property, we certainly cite for those, and we cited a number of them this weekend for kids that were discarding trash in the Southeast District. But I think Kevin Gore is going to have to kind of chime in more on housing's response to code violations. But the police has upticked its presence down there.
I guess we'll have to monitor something else, right? And see how the neighbors in that quadrant are, feeling if it's getting better, staying the same, or getting worse.
Yes.
So we'll follow up with residents there.
And encourage communication. We haven't heard anything since the original email string. So if there
Right.
are ongoing issues that we're not seeing, we certainly want to know about them the same, as they're occurring. So I know that's a message Mr. Stefano was pushing out to his constituents was just call and let us know it's going on. And we'll go down there and we'll find it. But we do have an added presence down there, and there hasn't been much of a change in enforcement because it just hasn't been there at those times.
Yeah. So maybe that is enough deterrence right there,
Yeah,
and it's helping. So thank you for that.
sure.
Any other questions for Chief on that item? Okay, we're going to move on to 3F, cycling safety and use of the sidewalks.
Yep, I think that's my last one. So a gentleman, resident, I believe over at 302 East Marshall Street, approached the podium last month and brought up that issue and wanted us to take a look at it. It's strictly prohibited to ride bicycles on sidewalks. Bad idea for the borough to make a change to ordinance rules for that, but the pedicycle laws clearly state that you cannot ride on a sidewalk, especially in a town like this. It's very dangerous. I understand it's also dangerous for bicyclists on the road, but they're going to have to use common sense and stay as far to the right as they can and obey traffic laws. And it's a difficult situation. Town is crowded at certain times of the week and weekends, and I understand they want to get their rides in, but there have been some cycling lanes created. One in particular is the 100 block of West Market Street, maybe the 1 and the 200. So there's some areas where they're trying to make some room, but the streets are the streets. Their widths are already set, and sidewalks are not going to happen. Yeah.
I tend to agree with you, Chief Moorhead. I would not be in favor of putting bicycles on sidewalks. We've got scooters on sidewalks, and I've almost been run over by them on more than one occasion.
Yeah.
So I was glad to see this. Ms. Vaccaro, do you have any comments?
When the request was made, I personally absolutely never want to see, they're brick sidewalks. It seems terribly dangerous in so many ways.
Yeah.
But I did understand why he was saying that. He was thinking about maybe boardwalks and sort of shutting down the sidewalks for a certain time period so that the bikes could have some fun. I think the borough should do more, can do more to provide some area for the bicycle. I don't think the sidewalks are the right place.
Our cycling accidents that do occur in the borough, overwhelming majority of them occur within the intersection because the bicyclist or the car are not paying attention and they're colliding. So they're intersection accidents. They're not mid-block crashes. So sidewalks aren't going to be too effective anyway because they're going to have to come off the sidewalk to go into the intersection. So even more reason why.
Look at cycling lanes or enhancing those in the borough versus opening up the sidewalk. Mr. Allen? Okay. All right, Chief. Thank
Yep.
you.
All righty. Thank you.
Comments from the audience on anything that we've gone over so far? Sorry, I forgot to ask for that after each item. All right, we're going to go on to 3G, reproductive rights language for amendment to the Home Rule Charter. And we are going to table that for a legal discussion with council at a later executive session. So more to come on that later. Any comments or questions on that? Okay. All right, we're going to move on to 4, approve the September 22 public safety meeting minutes. Any questions, comments? All right. Passed. Any other business?
I have one thing I do want to bring up. I have been working on the Gay Street closure, and I have been participating with the bid. And now that the borough has Gay Street, I think that we need to move as quickly as possible to firm up the shutdown plans for next summer. I think compared to what we did last year, it seems ridiculously early. But I think it's extremely necessary to show sort of respect to the businesses, that we have a clear plan so that they can plan for when they're open, how much hiring they need to do, and make the right changes to their business, regardless of where we are in the gate closures, or forget any of the actual physical mechanical revisions. This is just about the planning of when. So my sort of rough proposal would be something like May to November, and then the long weekend closure, just so that we can all be in agreement. I mean, we all know that I want it closed all the time, but I think for next summer, the sooner we can get it on, the better.
I would agree that, we've sort of been reactive versus proactive on those closures in the past. So I would be willing to take that up and add that as a committee item. Okay.
Is it something you want to bring up at next week's work session as something coming from the committee, and
I
see if
think,
you want to have the conversation there and see where it goes?
I think so.
All right, we can do that.
Did that answer your question, Dana? Okay, thanks. Okay, any other comments? All right, it is 5:55. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.